Hello, you're watching Proactive London. I'm joined by Paul Larby, the CEO of Bango. Paul, good to have you on today. You've announced a partnership with Uber to expand this Uber One membership program using your digital vending machine, Bango DVM. Could you remind us what DVM is and does?
Yeah, great to be back, Stephen. Yeah, the Bango digital vending machine sits at the heart of the subscription economy, and we all know the subscription economy is growing. We're paying for more and more things via subscription. Analysts estimate that by 2026 it'll be over $600 billion in terms of the size of that subscription economy. So significant economy, and increasingly we're seeing that being delivered through channels. And again, analyst estimates show that already, in terms of video services in particular, 20 to 25% are distributed through a channel, and quite often the telco is that channel. And so the digital vending machine is basically our product that sits at the heart of those two sort of market trends, an increasing subscription economy that's being delivered increasingly through a channel. So if you have a subscription service and you want to sell it through a channel, then the Bango digital vending machine is the place you want to be, and the platform you want to be on to access as many channels as possible, as quickly as possible.
So tell us how this fits with Uber One and how it intends to use it to grow its subscription base.
Yes, we have over 100 or so merchants now connected in the digital vending machine. Some offering only one subscription service, some offering many subscription services. And quite often, I think we get seduced into talking about, the streaming video services, the Disneys, the Netflix, the HBO, services like that, because they generally are the services that most of us recognize as subscriptions. But as you can see, just by the fact that we have 100, there's a significant variety of services that are now purchased through subscriptions. And I think Uber's a great example of a really well-known brand that probably most of us have used at some point. But actually underpinning that, there's a subscription service that gives you benefits both on from a ride-sharing perspective as well as from a food delivery service. And that's a service that already has around 90 million strong membership base. And Uber, as they said themselves, are basically using the digital vending machine to expand that subscription base through indirect channels. And our first launch for this will be in the US. But I think it really highlights just the breadth of subscription service, and it's great to have such a big brand in sort of a non-video service, because I think it makes us all think about all the different subscriptions we have and how much we spend on those subscriptions, and the benefit of having them all in a subscription hub so we can manage them really all in one place.
So, I mean, essentially, Uber will be able to use this to simplify and manage its subscription bundles.
Yeah, so they'll get access to all sorts of new customers through channels. So for them, it gives them access to all sorts of new customers. They'll have the telcos, who are the initial channels for this, marketing the service on their behalf, potentially bundling and offer incentives with either telco services or other services. So it creates a really compelling consumer offer that's marketed through a channel. And so it's really Uber's way of expanding and quickly reaching many more customers. And the benefit of that digital vending machine to Uber is they connect into it once and they get access to all those different channels. So it's a really fast way of scaling into that channel market, which really gives them additional marketing, additional promotion, and as consumers, generally, in most cases, a better offer for us personally.
Yeah, and as you said, this is going to start in the United States, but Uber is a global brand, so I mean the scope is massive, isn't it?
Yeah, no, we see very much expanding outside of that. I think generally in this sort of subscription marketplace, the US has been a strong market for us. We have 3 out of the top 5 telcos, but we're seeing great growth in Latin America and great growth in Asia, and then Europe sort of coming up a little bit behind that. So there's I think sort of massive potential, but US, one of the most advanced subscription economies, and that's where it's starting.
You talked about video services, Paul, and that fits in very nicely with the report that you've just released. It's called Going for Gold. It's a survey report, and it's really looking at sports video on demand. Tell us a little bit more about that.
Yeah, I think really topical, right? It's a summer of sport. I think maybe the less we talk about the Euros at the moment, the better, given the performance this week. But we're the Olympics, not that far away. So we thought it was a good opportunity to understand, people who subscribe to these sports services, what do their patterns look like, and how does it compare with normal customers? And what we found is that people who are sports fans spend significantly more on subscriptions, moving from a sort of typically the average is around $70 a month, but if you're a sports fan and you have sports subscriptions, it can be over $120 a month. So they spend significantly more on subscriptions. And one of the really interesting things we found out in the report is almost 2/3 of them would add another subscription service to get access to the Olympics. So I think it really shows, the demand is there for consumer services. And if we can make those services easy to access, easy to start, maybe easy to pause at the end of the Olympics, then I think we can really drive significant customers, and that's why, you know, all the subscription providers are looking to sell through channels, because it gives them that flexibility and that additional outlet for those services that really are in demand. So the easier you can, the more friction you can remove from that subscriber take up, the bigger take up you'll have of your subscription services.
So you would expect to see more collaboration on sports streaming bundled services, Paul?
Yeah, absolutely. I think that we're seeing increasingly services connected together in different ways, but sometimes bundling several sports together, sometimes bundling, you know, adjacent services together. So maybe a movie service with a sports service. I think that sort of connections of a complementary service, we think, is a way of giving customers the services they want at very good value. And the benefit of putting all that in a digital vending machine so you can get single access to it is it gives us as consumers greater control, greater flexibility, and greater ability to experiment.
Yeah, and greater opportunities for Bango, I should imagine, Paul.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, brands like Uber and events like the Olympics, which drive subscriptions, all drive that sort of, you know, increasing number of subscriptions that we manage through the platform, and ultimately the platform, and as a result, the revenue grows as we manage more and more of those subscriptions. So these are all really positive drivers for Bango.
Paul, what other news flow should your investors be looking out for in the months ahead, apart from the Olympics?
Yeah, so we got obviously the financial calendar. Sort of, you know, we report our interims in September. We'll do a sort of the usual trading update in July to give investors a flavour on how it's going. And there's lots more news flow. It's great to have this Uber story out. There's tons of other exciting things happening and have already happened. It's quite often we're sort of restricted because of the commercial contracts of telling people about them. So it's great with this Uber one that we can, you know, get out there and tell people about it, because it's not the only one, but I think it's a big brand, and it hopefully gives, you know, investors the flavour of the sort of the attractiveness of the digital vending machine from both people who have subscription services, but also on the telco side.
Well, I'm sure we're going to be chatting to you again very soon. Paul, thank you very much for the update today.
Thanks, Stephen. Great to talk to you.
And you, Paul Larbey, the CEO of Bango.